The obstetrician told us to get checked out in more detail and gave us a referral. We might become parents. Daniel would be happy, I thought. That's what I was thinking. But Daniel's words were different from what I had imagined. Huh? Seriously? Daniel looked perplexed and sighed as if it were a bother. What's wrong? We've been wanting a child for so long. Aren't you happy? Pregnant? I don't know anything about that. Please just stop talking. Do you plan on having a kid and spending even more money when you're living off me? Who do you think is providing for our living? It's thanks to me working overtime and on weekends, right? I was dumbfounded by his patronizing tone. I had been so happy about the long-awaited pregnancy, but it quickly felt like I had been dropped into hell. I don't want to come home to a messy house and the sound of a crying child. There's no point in being married to you if you're pregnant. Get out of the house. Hearing those words, I felt foolish for having endured so much until now. I remained silent and went to my room to start packing my things. I am Scarlett, a working mother who works from home. I live with my husband Daniel, who is 2 years older than me. Even while balancing work, I have managed to take care of the household to relieve my husband's fatigue. We've been married for 5 years. When you're together for a long time, you start to see the less appealing sides of each other. I was no exception. Daniel often leaves the house citing work as the reason. He frequently works overtime and has to work on weekends almost every week. I was worried about Daniel's health. Hey, you've been working overtime a lot lately, haven't you? Are you okay? Yeah, but it can't be helped. It's tough for everyone, not just me. I can't just not do overtime and go home, right? That might be true, but I'm worried you might overwork yourself. Can't you at least take weekends off? Nah, that's impossible. If I don't work on weekends, it just means more work on weekdays. It's better to get things done when other companies are off, right? I understand what you're saying, but can't you take even one day off? I want to spend more time with you. Daniel gave a resigned look and glanced at me as he had said this. You're always at home, so maybe you don't understand about work. There are times when a man has to stand firm, and that time is now. Haven't you ever heard of workplace reform? I was appalled by his statement, which was so out of touch with the times. Besides, don't get jealous at your age. It's one thing if it's a young girl, but there's nothing pleasing about a 36-year-old woman getting jealous. I was speechless at Daniel's harsh words. Is this how you talk to a wife who's worried about you? I had to speak up. That's no way to talk. What's wrong with being worried about a husband who works too much? Ah, enough already. I don't want to come home tired and listen to my wife nag. Besides, don't complain when you're living off me. Daniel left the living room, clearly irritated. I was just thinking about Daniel, so why did I have to be spoken to like this? I was becoming unsure of how to deal with Daniel. On a day off? Even though Daniel had the whole day off, it wasn't to spend time with me. It was to go to Daniel's parents' house. Daniel's parents lived about a 30-minute drive away. Daniel had a good relationship with his in-laws, especially his mother Ella, who was very sweet on Daniel. Daniel would do anything Ella asked. I didn't get along well with Ella. Daniel's father, Logan, was a sensible man who would sometimes rein in Ella when she went too far. He was kind to me, his daughter-in-law. However, Logan was a busy company president and often away from home. Daniel worked for the company Logan ran. Oh, Daniel, welcome back. Come on in. I'm home, Mom. Ella only addressed Daniel and ignored me as if it were the most natural thing. Daniel didn't seem to question the situation at all. Long time no see, Ella. When I initiated the conversation, Ella seemed to notice me for the first time and said, Oh, did Scarlett come too? As she said that, Ella walked into the house with Daniel, leaving me behind. Then Logan appeared at the entrance, apologizing to me as he came. I'm sorry, Scarlett. It's good to see you. Come in. It's been a while, Logan. Thanks for having me. Watching Daniel and Ella chatting on the sofa in the living room, Logan scolded them. Why did you two go ahead and leave Scarlett behind? It's only proper to show her in together. Well, I did call out. She could have just come in on her own. It's not right to just walk into your husband's family home on your own. We invited her, so we should be considerate. You should understand, being a wife yourself. Dad, don't be so hard on Mom. She was just happy to see me back. Maybe she just got a little carried away. I can't understand being so overjoyed just because an adult son comes home once in a while. Logan shook his head and apologized to me again. However, Daniel and Ella looked as if they didn't understand what they did wrong, and ultimately, they didn't apologize to me. As I was about to sit on the sofa, Ella called out to me, with a smile that was unsettlingly pleasant. "Scarlett, could you help me make some coffee?" "Sure." I followed Ella to the kitchen. As soon as we were alone, the smile disappeared from Ella's face, and she spoke to me in a low voice. "Come on, hurry up and make the coffee, and make sure you prepare the cookies properly." Whenever I visited my in-laws, Ella would push household chores onto me, especially when Logan wasn't looking. She knew she'd be scolded by Logan if he found out she was making me do all the work. Such a cunning person. But this was nothing new to me. I was used to it by now. While I prepared the coffee, Ella continued to criticize me nonstop. My clumsiness, the cookies not being to her taste, my unfortunate-looking face. She would list these complaints and finally conclude with, "Really? I wonder why Daniel married someone like you." It's astonishing how she can tirelessly complain about me every time. At first, I was shocked by every comment, but after 5 years of the same, I seem to have become numb to it. For minor things, I just apologize with a simple, "I'm sorry," and let it go in one ear and out the other. Perhaps my lack of reaction was boring for Ella, as she continued her tirade against me. "It's been 5 years since you got married and you still don't have children. Could it be that you're infertile?" My body tensed up instantly. This was something I had always been sensitive about. I had wanted children since the beginning of my marriage. Her blunt mention of such a delicate topic made me struggle to contain my anger. Noticing my reaction, Ella seemed to decide to press the issue further. "Daniel is our only son. Isn't it the wife's duty to produce an heir? Don't you even understand that?" "Well, I do want children, but children are a blessing, and I don't want to hear excuses. If you can't fulfill your duty as a wife, you're not fit to be Daniel's wife. You might as well get a divorce." Just as I was about to retort to her insensitive remarks, Logan entered the kitchen. "It seems to be taking a while. What's going on?" "Oh, Father, it's nothing. I'm just about to bring the coffee." Pretending as if she had prepared it herself, Ella snatched the tray from me and took the coffee and cookies to the living room. "Scarlett, are you okay? Did Ella say something to you again?" "No, I'm fine." It seemed Logan hadn't heard our conversation. The thought of bringing it up again was too painful for me. I answered Logan with a forced smile, suppressing my anger. As if nothing had happened, Ella was chatting amiably with Daniel. The coffee I drank while looking at Ella's face tasted like nothing. I wanted to leave as soon as possible. That thought kept running through my mind. Months had passed since that visit to my in-laws. Daniel was still bogged down with overtime and working weekends. Lately, I had been feeling unwell, hardly able to get out of bed. I managed to keep up with the essential household chores, but it seemed Daniel hadn't noticed any difference from before. His obliviousness was a relief at this moment. After several days of feeling unwell, I decided it was time to visit the doctor. At the local clinic, I received unexpected news from the doctor. That evening, as I warmed up dinner for Daniel, who returned home late, I decided to speak up. "Hey, there's something I need to talk to you about." "What is it? Does it have to be today? I'm tired from work." Despite claiming to be working even on days off, he's never at home. I almost said that, but held back at the last moment. I didn't respond to Daniel's question. I continued speaking without addressing it. "I've been feeling unwell for a few days, so I went to the local clinic today. They said I might be pregnant." "What?" Daniel's eyes widened as he looked at me. This way, I won't have to endure any nagging from Ella. Thinking this, I felt a bit relieved. "They told me to get a thorough checkup at the obstetrician's and gave me a referral. We might become parents." I thought Daniel would be happy. That's what I was thinking. But his response was not what I had imagined. "Huh? Seriously?" Daniel frowned and sighed as if it were a bother. "What's wrong? We've been wanting a child for so long. Aren't you happy?" "Pregnant? I don't know anything about that. Please just stop talking." "Why would you say that? You know I've wanted children since we got married, right?" Daniel sighed deeply again. I was the one who wanted to sigh. "You're living off me, and now you want to have a child and spend even more money? Who do you think is providing for us? It's because I'm working overtime and on weekends, right?" I was stunned by his patronizing tone. I had been so happy about the long-awaited pregnancy, but his words quickly dashed that happiness. I don't want to come home to a messy house and the sound of a crying child. There's no point in being married to you if you're pregnant. Get out of the house. Hearing those words made all the patience I had maintained until then feel foolish. I remained silent and went to my room to start packing my things. After that, I moved quickly. I found a place to move into, arranged for movers, and sent all my belongings to the new home. Within a week, I had completed the move, left the divorce papers I had filled out, and left the house. The next day, I received a message from Daniel saying he had filed the divorce papers. All the time I had spent enduring felt wasted. The 5 years of marriage ended just like that. About 6 months after the divorce, Daniel called me. I was at work and didn't notice until later, but there were over 20 missed calls from him just in the morning. There had been a few calls from him every few weeks before, but I had no desire to talk to someone I had divorced and had ignored them. However, this many missed calls was unprecedented. It might have been an emergency, I thought, and decided to call Daniel back. He answered after just one ring. You finally picked up. You're late. The first thing I heard when he answered was Daniel shouting. I regretted calling back immediately. What the hell do you think you're doing? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're talking about. Don't lie. It's about the rent. I got a call saying it's been half a year of unpaid rent. And the utilities, too. What's going on? His absurd accusation almost made me laugh. This wasn't something you discuss with an ex-spouse. If you're getting notices, just pay them. Why are you calling me about this? It was supposed to be deducted from my account all this time, right? Why did you change the account as soon as you left? Such harassment. You really have a terrible personality. Of course. I made it so it couldn't be deducted from that account anymore. Why should I pay for rent and utilities for a house I don't even live in anymore? There was silence on the other end of the phone. Daniel was probably filled with question marks in his head by my unexpected response. Huh? Did you just say you were the one paying for our living expenses? Daniel finally started talking in a condescending tone. Don't joke around. I was the one providing for you. There's no way you could afford that. What are you talking about? Thinking you were providing for me is a huge misunderstanding. Your salary alone couldn't possibly support the both of us living as adults. Huh? What are you saying? I'm the son of the president. My income is obviously high. High income just because he's the president's son? What kind of logic is that? It was time to confront him with reality. Have you ever looked at your own payslip? Why don't you check it right now? Then we'll talk. Daniel seemed to be getting irritated with my rebuttals. He said he'd check and seemed to go look for his payslip. It just so happens it's payday this week. Wait, I'll check right now. His voice suddenly cut off, so I checked my phone signal. It was fine. It seemed Daniel had suddenly gone silent. Huh? What's this amount? What's going on? For some reason, your salary is significantly lower compared to others your age. Daniel seemed unable to accept reality, murmuring no way and can't be on the other end. Uncertain if he was listening, I continued. Yet you lived in an upscale apartment and splurged on brand items, thinking you're the president's son. With such spending, it's no wonder you couldn't afford living expenses or rent. No, I have to wear things befitting the son of a president. What's the point of buying things that don't match your salary? This is what happens when you don't face reality. Hey, life must be tough for you since our divorce, right? Let's remarry and you can come back to live with me. Daniel said something outrageously rude while laughing foolishly. After all the belittling, which mouth was he speaking from? I firmly and clearly retorted, there's no way I'd remarry someone as unreasonable as you. My work is going well, so don't worry. I'm enjoying my life a lot more without you. Please don't bother me. Your work? Acting all high and mighty. It must be just some part-time job, right? Living on your own must be just scraping by. You'd be better off with me. It's not a part-time job. I've been working from home even before we divorced. I'm sure I told you. You don't remember anything I say, do you? Work from home? I've never heard about that. Besides, you probably only make pocket money anyway. Anyway, let's remarry. I cut off Daniel's words, seemingly desperate for reconciliation, with a statement that would further plunge him into despair. I've started my own business. Business? Yes, that's right. The company is doing well and we're seeing good results, so I have absolutely no need to remarry you. The fact that his ex-wife, whom he thought he was supporting, was actually a successful entrepreneur and a president of her own company must have been a blow to Daniel's pride. especially given his complacency about being the son of a president. I felt a sense of vindication after being belittled for so long. However, the next words from Daniel were unexpected. A president, huh? You said your business is doing well, so you must have plenty of money. Then you can pay for my living expenses, right? I was astounded by the lack of pride in Daniel's words, coming from someone who was supposed to be so full of it. It's surprising how people can act so desperately when they're out of options. We're divorced, remember? We have nothing to do with each other. I'm not going to pay money for someone who's a stranger to me now. Wait, Scarlett. There's nothing more to talk about. Don't call me again over such nonsense. Goodbye. Daniel seemed to be saying something on the other end, but I mercilessly hung up the phone. There were a few more attempts from him to call, but of course I didn't respond. Eventually, he seemed to give up, and the calls stopped. Looking at the quiet mobile phone, I felt relieved. I wonder how much time has passed since I spoke with Daniel on the phone. My days have been so hectic that I can't even remember such details. My phone rang again, and without checking the screen, I answered it, resolving to always check the caller in the future, no matter how busy I was. It was Daniel on the line, sounding upset as usual. There's a rumor going around the office that I'm cheating. You must have done something for revenge. Look, I'm too busy to bother with someone I want nothing to do with. It wasn't me. That's impossible. Only you would benefit from such a thing. Spreading false rumors. I'll demand compensation from you. It all came down to him wanting to squeeze some money out of me. Giving money to such a person would be like throwing it away. I would never comply with such a demand. I decided to respond in a purposefully frivolous manner. Ah, could it be because of that? You have an idea about it? It was you after all. Of course I haven't been spreading any rumors, but I did consult Logan, your company's president, about your affairs. What? You told Dad? Daniel asked me in a flustered manner. Perhaps he thought I hadn't caught on. Or was it the shock that my father knew about the situation? Either way, it didn't matter to me. Before I brought up the pregnancy issue to Daniel, I had been suspicious of his frequent overtime and weekend work. Logan was often busy with work, and it was common for him not to be at his home when I visited. However, I couldn't imagine Logan, a reasonable man, forcing his son or any employee to work excessive overtime or weekends. So I hired a detective to investigate Daniel's activities. As expected, Daniel was having an affair with a female colleague. The other person was a female colleague from the same company. It was one thing if it was just Daniel, but with the affair involving another employee, I had no choice but to inform Logan, the president. I sent various pieces of evidence to the company addressed to the president. It's likely that Logan took some action, which led to the rumors spreading within the company. I can't believe Dad knows. What have you done? Don't get mad at me. If you hadn't had an affair in the first place, none of this would have happened. I owed a lot to Logan. I couldn't overlook an employee blatantly having an affair. You're meddling in things you shouldn't. Damn, my position is... Why he clung to a position that didn't even pay enough to support one wife was beyond me. It was a waste of time to keep listening to Daniel muttering to himself. I hung up the phone. A few days later, I received a call from Logan. Scarlett, it's been a while. Do you have a moment? Long time no see. Yes, I'm available. I see. Well, I'm terribly sorry for the trouble my foolish son has caused. No, Logan, you're not to blame. Daniel is the one at fault. That may be so, but I also believe there was a lack of oversight on my part. I'm truly sorry for making you uncomfortable. It was exasperating that Daniel had caused Logan, a man of integrity, to apologize like this. Neither in the previous phone call nor in this one did Daniel himself apologize. It's truly unfortunate for a parent to have to apologize for their grown child's actions. Given the affair within the company, we had to impose severe sanctions. The woman involved was demoted and transferred to another department, and Daniel has been dismissed. Dismissed? Excuse me, but is dismissal a common consequence for an internal affair? It's not just about this incident. Scarlett, were you aware of Daniel's salary? Yes, but he mostly spent it as he pleased, hardly contributing to the household. Unbelievable. That boy never ceases to amaze me. Well, there's a reason for the amount of his salary. Logan sighed before gently asking if I was willing to listen. Of course, I agreed. The thing is, he strutted around using the fact that he was the president's son, but hardly did any work. He even threatened those who opposed him with complaints to me, the president. I suspected there was a reason behind that salary amount, but I never imagined it would be this bad. I hadn't realized he was such a self-centered person. It was a relief to have divorced such a self-centered person. It would be wrong to pay him a high salary just because he's my son, given his behavior. That's why his salary was what it was. It's admirable of you, Logan, but it's exactly what using someone else's power for personal gain means. Logan laughed heartedly at that. Exactly. I don't regret my decision as a president. However, it seems to have shocked Daniel. He's come back home but has been shut away in his room ever since. You don't need to worry about it, Scarlett. With that, Logan ended the call. While I felt sorry for Daniel, I also felt guilty for causing trouble for Logan. Not even a month after my conversation with Logan, I received a message from Ella. It was a demand to come to my in-laws' house. The message was terse. To me, my in-laws' house felt like enemy territory. I wanted to avoid it if at all possible. However, there were things I wanted to discuss directly with Ella. After contacting Logan, he assured me he would be home, so I decided to visit my in-laws. Oh, you came. Ella opened the entrance door with a blank expression, not bothering to welcome me in, but instead quickly retreated into the house herself. As usual, he didn't invite me in, but hurried into the room by himself. When I was his wife, such behavior puzzled me, but now there's no need for me to gauge Ella's mood. Following Ella, I entered the house. In the living room, only Ella was present, with Logan nowhere to be seen. Is it just you here? Yes, I sent my husband out for groceries. Daniel won't come out of his room because of you. Poor thing. Without offering me any coffee, Ella seated herself on the sofa, merely glancing at me. She knew that if Logan were here, he wouldn't tolerate her treating me disrespectfully. She must have sent Logan away on purpose. Always the cunning one. I sat down on a dining chair a bit away from her. Why did you call me here? Ella frowned at my direct approach. Likely annoyed at being forced to follow my lead in the conversation. It's simple, Scarlett. Remarry Daniel. Stunned by these unexpected words from Ella, whom I thought despised me. I wondered what her reasoning could be for wanting her son to remarry someone she disliked. No, there is no chance of reconciliation with Mr. Daniel. Moreover, I don't believe this is a matter for you to discuss. But look at what you've done to Daniel. He's so distraught he can't even leave his room, let alone the house. You should take responsibility for that. Whether Daniel had misrepresented the facts or Ella had misconstrued them was irrelevant. The truth was entirely different. Daniel betrayed me first. He threw me out when I mentioned I might be pregnant and had an affair with a woman from his company. That's unforgivable. Ella reacted to something I said. Her expression was as if she had an aha moment. Exactly. You're pregnant, aren't you? Do you intend to let your child live a life without a father? It's better for a child to have both parents together. No, that's not necessary. When I firmly refused, Ella's face turned red, and she slammed her hand on the table. What's with you? Defiant and insolent since you got here. A wife should listen to her mother-in-law. Ella screamed in a shrill voice that hurt my ears. A man like that isn't worth my time. And for the record, I'm not pregnant. What? Ella's expression became a mix of confusion and sadness when she heard I wasn't pregnant. What do you mean? Weren't you told at the hospital that you were pregnant? That's what Daniel said. The clinic I went to wasn't an obstetrics and gynecology specialist, so they gave me a referral to get a detailed examination. It turned out to be just a health issue, not a pregnancy. I see. Ella's face fell into complete despair. She must have been planning to use the child as a reason to push for a reconciliation with Daniel. Such naive thinking. I wouldn't want to raise a child with someone who couldn't even be happy about a pregnancy. So there's no need to worry about the child's father. I won't be remarrying Daniel. What? What do you mean? Do you no longer care about Daniel? Don't you feel sorry for him? I feel nothing for him. He's a stranger to me now. Ella lunged at me. I was struck. That's when Logan intervened. What are you doing? Logan had returned from shopping and stepped between Ella and me. But Logan, she's terrible. She won't even try to help Daniel. She only cares about herself. What a cruel person. The one who acted dishonorably first was Daniel. How many times do I have to say it? You lose sight of everything when it comes to Daniel and act recklessly. That's your problem. Enough is enough. Ella burst into tears as if her emotions had exploded. Her blind maternal love had created a codependent relationship between Daniel and her. Even after Daniel became independent, moved out, and started his own family, they couldn't let go of their distorted affection for each other. I felt pity for them. Logan, Ella, I'm here today to tell you directly that I will be filing for compensation against Daniel and his affair partner in the divorce court. Ella continued to scream at me, but her voice was choked with tears, making it hard to understand her words. It was undoubtedly more abuse directed at me. Yes, that's right. Of course. Please proceed with that. I'll cover Daniel's part and promise to pay in full up front. After that, I'll ensure he repays me. I won't let his mother interfere, so you can rest assured. Logan remained my ally to the end. Ella continued to rant incoherently. When Logan thundered, "If you continue to spoil Daniel, I'll consider divorce. Change your ways." Ella finally bowed her head in silence. Despite all the commotion, Daniel never showed his face. Later, through my lawyer, I filed for compensation against Daniel and his affair partner in the divorce court. Both were paid in full. According to Logan, Daniel started working part-time and has been repaying him a fixed amount every month. I've threatened to transfer the debt if he's ever late, so there haven't been any delays so far. Logan said this with a laugh. It seems Ella tried to work and give the money to Logan out of pity for Daniel, but Logan's threat of divorce made her behave. Both Daniel and Ella need to reconsider their actions. While Logan's ordeal is immeasurable, I hope they come to possess a sense of common decency like Logan. As for me, work is going well, and I continue to lead a busy life. Having Logan, a seasoned president, as a sounding board for business matters has been incredibly reassuring. For now, I plan to enjoy a carefree single life to the fullest.